Drummerly.com Unlimited Drama Series.
Midnight. I sat in my battered Ford pickup in the driveway, rain hammering the windshield like bullets from heaven. The engine ticked as it cooled, and through the thin walls of our colonial house, I could hear voices rising and falling like a fever dream. My name is Jack Morrison, and I've been fixing cars for 23 years in this dying New England town. My hands are permanently stained with grease. My back aches from bending over engines, and my bank account reflects the slow death of small-town America. But tonight, none of that mattered. Tonight, I was listening to my world collapse. And face it, Dad's a loser. My daughter Amelia's voice cut through the rain like a rusty blade. Mom needs a man who can keep up with her success. Uncle Derek gets it. You don't. Uncle Derek, my wife Sarah's brother, the hotshot investment banker from Boston, who drove a BMW and wore suits that cost more than I made in a month. The same Derek who'd been staying in our guest room for 3 weeks, supposedly between apartments, after his divorce. I'd found the hotel receipt in Sarah's purse that morning. The Lakeside Inn. Room 237. 2 nights, charged to her credit card. The same nights she'd claimed to be working late at her PR firm. The front door opened, spilling yellow light across the wet driveway. Sarah appeared, her auburn hair perfectly styled despite the late hour, her business suit crisp and commanding. At 45, she looked like she belonged in boardrooms and magazine covers, not married to a grease monkey from the wrong side of town. Jack! She approached the truck, her heels clicking on the pavement. What are you doing out here? I rolled down the window, letting the rain kiss my face. Thinking. About what? About how you said you earn more, so you make the rules. I smiled, the expression feeling foreign on my face. You're absolutely right. Her green eyes narrowed. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, sweetheart. Just agreeing with my successful wife. She studied me for a long moment, rain beating on her expensive jacket. You're acting strange. Am I? Maybe I'm finally learning my place. I started the engine. Don't wait up. I've got some thinking to do. As I backed out of the driveway, I saw Derek's silhouette in the upstairs window, watching. My brother-in-law, my wife's champion, the man who'd spent 3 weeks poisoning my family against me with his talk of ambition and knowing your worth. The rain followed me through the empty streets of Millbrook, Massachusetts, past the shuttered factories and boarded storefronts that told the story of a town that time forgot. I drove to Frankie's boxing gym, the only place in this dying world that still felt real. Frankie Torino had been training fighters for 30 years, and his gym smelled like sweat, leather, and honest work. He lived in the apartment above the gym, and his lights were still on. Jackie boy, he said when I knocked. You look like hell. Feel worse. I stepped inside, shaking rain from my jacket. Got a beer? Always. He handed me a cold Budweiser and settled into his worn recliner. What's eating you? I told him everything. The hotel receipt, the late nights, Derek's constant presence, Amelia's words. Frankie listened without judgment, nodding occasionally. So what you gonna do? He asked when I finished. I don't know. Sarah's right about one thing. She does earn more. Her PR firm pays her 6 figures. I'm lucky to clear 40 grand. Money ain't everything, Jack. Tell that to my wife. I drained the beer. She's got Derek whispering in her ear about how she deserves better, how she's wasting her potential on a blue-collar nobody. Frankie leaned forward. You know what your problem is? You're fighting fair, and nobody wins a fair fight. What's that mean? It means stop being the nice guy. Stop taking their shit. You want to save your marriage? Make them remember why they need you. I left Frankie's at 2 a.m. with a plan forming in my mind. The rain had stopped, and the stars were visible for the first time in weeks. Maybe that was a sign. Or maybe it was just the calm before the storm. The next morning, I woke up on Frankie's couch with a crick in my neck and a clarity I hadn't felt in months. Sarah had called 3 times, but I didn't answer. Let her wonder. I drove to Morrison's Auto Repair, my shop, my father's before me, and his father's before him. 3 generations of Morrisons fixing the cars of Millbrook, watching the town slowly die around us. The morning sun slanted through the grimy windows, illuminating dust motes that danced like ghosts. My first customer was Mrs. Patterson, a widow whose ancient Buick needed more prayers than parts. She counted out wrinkled 20s with arthritic fingers, apologizing for not having more. Don't worry about it, Mrs. Patterson, I said. Same as always. Family discount. She smiled, the expression transforming her weathered face. Your father would be proud, Jack. You're good people. Good people. That's what everyone said about Jack Morrison. Good old Jack. Reliable Jack. Jack who'd give you the shirt off his back. Jack the doormat. My phone buzzed. Sarah, where are you? Derek's making breakfast. I typed back. Working, that thing poor people do. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No response. Around noon, my buddy Tommy Brennan stopped by. We'd been friends since high school, back when the world seemed full of possibilities instead of limitations. Tommy had married his high school sweetheart, bought a house 2 streets over from mine, and worked at the post office. We used to grab beers every Friday, talk about sports, and complain about our wives in the harmless way married men do. But lately, Tommy had been different, distant. I knew why. Hey, Jack. He didn't meet my eyes. Got a minute? Sure. What's up? He shuffled his feet, hands shoved deep in his pockets. Look, man, this is awkward, but Linda thinks maybe we should take a break from hanging out. Linda, Tommy's wife, who worked at the same PR firm as Sarah, who'd been Sarah's friend long before she was Tommy's wife. Let me guess, I said. Sarah told Linda that I'm not supportive of her success, that I'm holding her back. Tommy's face reddened. It's not like that, Jack. It's just, things are complicated right now. Complicated how? Come on, man. You know how it is. The wives talk, and when they're not happy, we're not happy. I finished the sentence. I get it, Tommy. Sarah makes more money than me, so her feelings matter more. Her brother's got connections, so his opinion carries weight. And I'm just the grease monkey who doesn't know his place. That's not what I meant, isn't it? I wiped my hands on a rag, taking my time. How long have we been friends, Tommy? 25 years. 25 years. And now your wife snaps her fingers, and you come crawling over here to dump me like yesterday's garbage. Jack, please, don't make this harder than it has to be. Harder than it has to be? I laughed, the sound echoing off the garage walls. You're ending a quarter-century friendship because my wife's brother convinced her she married beneath her station, and I'm making it hard? Tommy backed toward the door. I'm sorry, Jack. I really am. Yeah, I said. Me too. He left without another word, and I stood alone in my garage, surrounded by the tools and memories of 3 generations. The weight of isolation settled on my shoulders like a lead blanket. My phone rang. Sarah. Jack, we need to talk. I'm listening. Not over the phone. Come home. I am home. This garage is more home than that house has been in months. A pause. Derek thinks you're having some kind of breakdown. Derek thinks a lot of things, doesn't make them true. He's concerned about you, about us. How thoughtful of him to be concerned about our marriage while he's... I stopped myself. While he's what, Jack? Nothing. I'll be home for dinner. But I wouldn't be the same Jack who left that morning. That Jack was dead, killed by indifference, and buried under years of being taken for granted. The new Jack was just getting started. I came home to find Derek in my kitchen, wearing one of my old Patriots t-shirts and cooking pasta like he owned the place. The sight of him in my clothes, in my space, using my pans, hit me like a physical blow. Jack! He turned with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Perfect timing. I'm making my famous carbonara, in my kitchen, wearing my shirt, using my stove. The smile faltered. Sarah said it was okay. My clothes are at the cleaners. Sarah appeared from the living room, still in her work clothes, but with her jacket off and her hair down. She looked beautiful and distant, like a painting in a museum, something to admire but never touch. Jack, don't start, she said. Derek's doing us a favor by cooking. A favor. I set my keys on the counter with deliberate care. How generous of him. Derek stirred the pasta, his movements confident and practiced. I know this situation isn't ideal, Jack. Being between places is tough. But Sarah and you thought, I interrupted. Interesting how often that phrase comes up lately. Amelia bounded down the stairs, her phone glued to her ear. At 20, she was a junior at Boston University, home for spring break and full of opinions about everything. She looked like her mother, beautiful, confident, and increasingly impatient with her blue-collar father. "Dad, you're being weird again," she said, covering her phone. "Uncle Derek's just trying to help." "Help with what, exactly? With Mom? With this family? With you?" Oh, words hung in the air like smoke. "With me." Like I was a problem to be solved, a burden to be managed. Derek cleared his throat. "Jack, maybe we should talk, man to man." "Sure." I pulled out a chair and sat down. "Talk." He turned off the burner and faced me, his expression serious and condescending. "I know this is hard for you, watching Sarah succeed, feeling left behind. It's natural to feel threatened." Threatened. When a woman starts earning more than her husband, it challenges traditional power structures. Some men can't handle it. Sarah leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching this conversation like it was a performance she'd paid to see. "And what kind of man am I, Derek? The kind who loves his wife, but doesn't know how to support her dreams. The kind who sees her success as his failure, instead of celebrating it." I nodded slowly. "You've given this a lot of thought." "I care about Sarah, about this family. Enough to stay in a hotel with my wife while I'm working 60-hour weeks to keep my business afloat." The kitchen went silent. Derek's face went white, then red. Sarah pushed off from the counter. "What did you just say?" she asked. I pulled the hotel receipt from my pocket and placed it on the counter. "The Lakeside Inn, room 237, 2 nights last week, charged to your card." Sarah stared at the receipt like it might bite her. "Jack, I can explain." "I'm sure you can. You're good with words. It's your job." Derek stepped forward. "Jack, you've got this all wrong." "Do I? Then explain it to me. Explain why my wife is paying for hotel rooms while her brother stays in our house. Explain why she's working late every night, but her car's not at the office. Explain why my daughter thinks I'm a loser and my friends won't return my calls." "Dad, stop," Amelia said. "You're embarrassing yourself." "Am I? Or am I finally seeing clearly?" Sarah picked up the receipt with trembling fingers. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it, Sarah? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like my wife is having an affair with her brother while I work my ass off to pay for the privilege of being humiliated in my own home." The slap came fast and hard, snapping my head to the side. Sarah stood over me, her hand raised, her face twisted with rage. "How dare you?" she whispered. "How dare you accuse me of that?" I touched my cheek, tasting blood from where my teeth had cut my lip. "So what is it then? Business meeting? Company retreat?" Derek moved between us. "Jack, you're upset. You're not thinking clearly." "I'm thinking more clearly than I have in years." I stood up, and Derek took a step back. For all his expensive suits and Harvard MBA, he was soft, desk soft. I'd been working with my hands for 23 years, and it showed. "The hotel room was for me," Derek said quickly. "Sarah booked it because I needed a place to meet with someone. A woman. Someone I couldn't bring here. A woman. My ex-wife. We've been trying to work things out. Sarah was helping us by providing a neutral space." I looked at Sarah. "Is that true?" She nodded, not meeting my eyes. "I was trying to help Derek save his marriage. By sneaking around behind my back. I knew you'd make a big deal out of it. You never liked Derek. I wonder why." The lies tasted bitter in the air between us. Maybe Derek was telling the truth about the hotel room. Maybe not. But something was wrong in my house, in my marriage, in my life. I could feel it like a tumor growing in my chest. "I need some air," I said. I walked outside into the cool evening, leaving them in the kitchen with their explanations and justifications. The stars were coming out, pinpricks of light in the gathering darkness. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Your wife's car was at the Lakeside Inn again tonight. Room 237. Thought you should know. And friend." A friend. I stared at the message, my hands shaking. Sarah was inside, had been inside for an hour. Her car was in the driveway. Unless it wasn't her car at the hotel. Unless Derek had borrowed it. Or unless someone was lying. And find that. I drove to the Lakeside Inn with my heart hammering against my ribs. The parking lot was half empty, filled with the cars of traveling salesmen and cheating spouses. And there, in the back corner under a broken streetlight, sat Sarah's silver Lexus. Room 237 was on the second floor, overlooking the lake. The curtains were drawn, but I could see the flicker of television light through the gap. I climbed the exterior stairs, my work boots echoing off the metal steps. And friends, I pressed my ear to the door and heard voices. Sarah's laugh, low and intimate. A man's voice responding, but not Derek's. This voice was younger, smoother. I knocked. The voices stopped. Footsteps approached the door. Who is it? Sarah's voice, tight with panic. Room service, I said in a fake accent. We didn't order anything. Complimentary champagne. From management. A pause. Whispered conversation. Then the door opened a crack, the chain still attached. Sarah's face appeared in the gap, and her eyes went wide when she saw me. Hello, sweetheart, I said. Mind if I come in? And she tried to close the door, but I pushed against it, snapping the chain. Sarah stumbled backward as I entered the room. A man sat on the bed in his underwear, scrambling for his clothes. I recognized him. Brad Hutchins, Sarah's colleague from the PR firm. Younger than me.
You wrote him love poems. In 10 years, you never wrote me a word.
It was emotional.
How is he telling in another?
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
Me, better looking, with the kind of easy confidence that came from never having to work with your hands. Jack, Sarah said, clutching a hotel robe around herself. This isn't what it looks like. Really? Because it looks like my wife is fucking her coworker in a cheap motel while I'm home having dinner with her lying brother? Brad stood up, pulling on his pants. Look, man, I know this is bad, but shut up. I didn't take my eyes off Sarah. How long? Jack, please, how long, Sarah? 6 months, she whispered. 6 months. Half a year of lies, of late nights, of making me feel crazy for suspecting what my gut already knew. And Derek knows? She nodded. He's been covering for you. The hotel receipts, the excuses, the whole supportive brother act. He's trying to help me figure things out. Figure what out? Whether you want to stay married to the loser who fixes cars for a living? Brad cleared his throat. Maybe I should go. Yeah, I said. Maybe you should. He grabbed his shirt and shoes and headed for the door, pausing to squeeze Sarah's shoulder. Call me tomorrow. Don't, I said quietly. Don't call her tomorrow. Don't call her ever again. He looked at me, saw something in my face that made him nod quickly and leave. Sarah and I stood alone in the wreckage of our marriage, the smell of sex and betrayal thick in the air. I want a divorce, she said. I know you do. I want the house, and half of everything. Of course you do. I earn more than you, Jack. I always have. I deserve better than this life you've trapped me in. I smiled, and she took a step back. You're right, I said. You do earn more. You make the rules, and I'm finally ready to play by them. I left her in that hotel room and drove home through the empty streets of Millbrook. The house was dark except for Derek's room, where I could see him pacing back and forth, probably on the phone with Sarah. I sat in my truck and made a list of everything that was about to change. Joint bank accounts, credit cards, the mortgage, the utilities, all the little financial threads that held our life together. Sarah wanted to make the rules? Fine. Starting tomorrow, she could pay for the privilege. The next morning, I was at the bank when it opened. I withdrew every penny from our joint accounts, $43,000 that represented 23 years of marriage and careful saving. I left exactly $1 in each account, just enough to keep them open. Then I went to the credit card companies and removed myself as an authorized user on all of Sarah's cards. I canceled the joint cards entirely. By noon, I had transferred the utilities, the mortgage, and every other bill into Sarah's name alone. Since she earned more and made the rules, she could handle the financial responsibilities too. My phone started ringing around 2 o'clock. Jack, what the hell did you do? Sarah's voice was shrill with panic. I followed your rules, sweetheart. You earn more, so you get to pay more. You can't just cancel everything. I didn't cancel anything. I just removed myself from accounts that I apparently wasn't contributing enough to anyway. The mortgage payment is due next week. Better get your checkbook ready. Jack, this is insane. We need to talk about this like adults. Adults don't fuck their coworkers in cheap motels while their husbands pay the bills. The line went quiet for a moment. Then, I'm calling my lawyer. Good idea. Make sure you can afford him. I hung up and went back to work. Mrs. Patterson's Buick was making a noise that sounded like a dying cat, and Mr. Rodriguez's pickup needed a new transmission. Honest work for honest pay. Around 5, Tommy Brennan showed up at the garage. He looked uncomfortable, shifting from foot to foot like a kid called to the principal's office. Jack, we need to talk. Thought we already did that, Tommy. Linda's freaking out. Sarah called her crying, saying you've lost your mind. Have I? Did you really clean out your bank accounts? Every penny. Tommy whistled low. Jesus, Jack, that's harsh. Is it? Or is it just following the new rules? Sarah makes more money, so she makes the decisions. Well, I've decided to let her make all of them. That's not how marriage works. Really? Because for the last 6 months, my marriage has been working like this. Sarah fucks her coworker. Derek covers for her. My daughter calls me a loser, and my friends abandon me because their wives don't want them associating with the poor guy. Tommy's face went red. That's not fair. Fair. I laughed. You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been you telling me that your wife knew about Sarah's affair. Fair would have been you warning me instead of cutting me loose like damaged goods. I didn't know about the affair, but Linda did. And Linda tells you everything, just like Sarah tells Derek everything. You all knew I was being played, and you let it happen. Tommy ran his hands through his hair. What do you want from me, Jack? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You made your choice when you picked your wife's comfort over our friendship. Now live with it. Come on, man. We've been friends since high school. No, we were friends until your wife decided I wasn't worth the trouble. There's a difference. He stood there for a long moment, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Finally, he turned and walked away. My phone rang again. Derek this time. Jack, you need to stop this childish behavior and come home. Childish behavior? You mean like lying to cover for my wife's affair? Sarah's confused. She's going through a difficult time. She's going through a difficult time? What about me, Derek? What about the husband who's been working his ass off while she screws around? You're not blameless in this, Jack. You've neglected Sarah for years, taken her for granted. And you've been there to comfort her. How convenient. I care about my sister. Enough to help her cheat on her husband? Enough to help her find happiness. I gripped the phone so hard I thought it might crack. Let me tell you something, Derek. You're not staying in my house another night. Pack your shit and get out. You can't kick me out. Sarah invited me. Sarah doesn't own that house. I do. It's been in my family for 3 generations. My name's on the deed, and I want you gone. Sarah won't let you do this. Sarah's about to learn that earning more money doesn't give you ownership of everything. Some things still belong to the man who pays for them. I hung up and drove home to find Derek loading suitcases into his BMW. Sarah stood on the porch, her arms crossed, her face twisted with rage. You can't do this, Jack, she said as I got out of the truck. Watch me. I live here too. Then start acting like it. Pay the mortgage, pay the utilities, pay for the groceries. Contribute something other than drama and betrayal. Derek slammed his trunk shut. This isn't over, Jack. You're right, it's not. I stepped closer to him, close enough that he had to look up to meet my eyes. If I see you around my wife again, if I find out you're still helping her sneak around, I'll make sure everyone in your fancy Boston social circle knows exactly what kind of man you are. You threatening me? I'm promising you. He got in his car and drove away, leaving Sarah and me alone on the porch of the house where we'd been married, where we'd raised our children, where we'd built a life that was now crumbling around us. I hate you, she said quietly. I know, but you'll hate me a lot more before this is over. What's that supposed to mean? I smiled, and she took a step back. It means you wanted to make the rules, Sarah, so let's see how well you play the game. The next 2 weeks were a masterpiece of calculated destruction. Sarah scrambled to cover the mortgage payment, the utilities, and all the other expenses she'd never had to think about. Her credit cards maxed out quickly. Apparently, 6-figure salaries don't go as far when you're actually responsible for everything. I watched from my garage as her perfect life unraveled. The landscaping service stopped coming. The house cleaner quit. The premium cable got disconnected. But I wasn't done. I made some calls to people I'd known for 23 years in this town. People whose cars I'd fixed, whose kids I'd coached in Little League, whose trust I'd earned through decades of honest dealing. It's amazing how much people will tell you when they think you're the wronged party. Brad Hutchins, it turned out, wasn't Sarah's first affair. There had been others. Her boss at the PR firm knew about it and was considering firing her to avoid a sexual harassment lawsuit. Her colleagues were already whispering about the woman who slept her way up the corporate ladder. I didn't spread these rumors. I didn't have to. In a town like Millbrook, the truth has a way of getting around all by itself. My phone rang on a Thursday afternoon. Amelia, calling from college. Dad, what did you do to Mom? I gave her what she wanted, sweetheart. Independence. She's crying all the time. She can barely afford the house payments. Maybe she should have thought about that before she decided I wasn't good enough for her. She made a mistake, Dad. People make mistakes. Some mistakes have consequences. She wants to come home, to work things out. I laughed, the sound echoing off the garage walls. Home to what? The husband she's been cheating on? The life she called a trap? The man she said wasn't worthy of her success? Dad, please. She's sorry. Sorry she got caught. Sorry she has to pay her own bills. Sorry she can't have her cake and eat it too. But not sorry for what she did. What do you want from her? Nothing, Amelia. Absolutely nothing. She made her choice when she decided I wasn't enough. Now she gets to live with it. The final confrontation came on a Saturday morning. I was at the garage, working on Mrs. Patterson's Buick, when Sarah walked in. She looked terrible, her hair unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, her eyes red from crying. Jack, we need to end this. I didn't look up from the engine. End what? This war you're waging against me. I'm not waging war, Sarah. I'm just following your rules. You earn more. You make the decisions. You decided you didn't want to be married to me, so I'm helping you get what you want. I never said I didn't want to be married to you. You said it every time you met Brad at that hotel. You said it every time you let Derek poison our kids against me. You said it every time you made me feel like a failure for not being good enough for your success. She moved closer, and I could smell her perfume, the same perfume she'd worn on our wedding day, the same perfume that had been on those hotel sheets. I made mistakes, Jack, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can what? Pretend the last 6 months didn't happen? Pretend you didn't fuck another man while I was home paying your bills? Pretend Derek didn't help you do it? Pretend our daughter didn't call me a loser to my face? She didn't mean it. Yes, she did. And you know what? She was right. I was a loser. I was the guy who worked 60-hour weeks so his wife could afford to cheat on him. I was the guy who let his friends abandon him rather than make waves. I was the guy who smiled and nodded while everyone told him he wasn't good enough. I straightened up and finally looked at her. But I'm not that guy anymore. What do you want, Jack? Money? I'll pay you alimony. The house? You can have it. Just please, stop this. You still don't get it, do you? This isn't about money or property. This is about respect. This is about 23 years of marriage that you threw away because you thought you deserved better. I do deserve better. The words hung in the air between us like a confession. She clapped her hands over her mouth, but it was too late. There it is, I said quietly. The truth. You do think you deserve better than me. Jack, I didn't mean. Yes, you did. And you know what? You're going to get exactly what you deserve. I walked to my desk and pulled out a manila envelope. Divorce papers, already signed. The house is yours, along with the mortgage payments. The cars are yours, along with the loan payments. Everything is yours, Sarah. All the responsibility, all the bills, all the consequences. She took the envelope with shaking hands. What about you? I'm moving into the apartment above Frankie's gym. I'm keeping the garage and my tools and my self-respect. Everything else is yours. Jack, please, I love you. No, you don't. You love the idea of me, the safety net, the backup plan, the guy who pays the bills while you figure out what you really want, but you don't love me. I walked to the garage door and opened it, letting in the morning sunlight. You said you earn more, so you make the rules. Well, here's my rule. Get out of my garage. Get out of my life. Go be the successful, independent woman you always wanted to be. She stood there for a moment, the divorce papers clutched to her chest, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, Jack. I'm so sorry. I know you are, but sorry doesn't fix 23 years of marriage. Sorry doesn't undo 6 months of betrayal. Sorry doesn't make me forget that my own daughter thinks I'm a loser. She walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. What if I fired Brad? What if I cut Derek out of my life? What if I made it right? I smiled, and she flinched. You can't make it right, Sarah. Because this isn't about Brad or Derek or even the affairs. This is about who you are. This is about a woman who looked at her husband of 23 years and decided he wasn't good enough. This is about a woman who let her brother turn her children against their father. This is about a woman who thought she could have everything without consequences. And what about you, Jack? What kind of man does this make you? The kind who finally learned to respect himself. The kind who won't be anyone's doormat ever again. The kind who gives people exactly what they ask for. She walked out of my garage and out of my life, leaving me alone with my tools and my self-respect and the certain knowledge that I'd finally won a fight I'd been losing for years. 6 months later, I heard she'd lost her job at the PR firm. The sexual harassment lawsuit materialized after all, and her boss decided she was more trouble than she was worth. She had to sell the house to pay the mortgage, and she moved back in with her parents in their retirement community in Florida. Derek got transferred to the London office of his bank, a lateral move that everyone knew was really a demotion. Apparently, his reputation for helping married women cheat on their husbands didn't play well with his conservative bosses. Brad Hutchins moved to California and got married to a woman half his age. I heard he was very happy. As for me, I kept the garage, kept my dignity, and learned that sometimes the best revenge is simply letting people have exactly what they think they want. Tommy Brennan came by last week, wanting to apologize and rebuild our friendship. I listened politely and told him I'd think about it. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. Some friendships, once betrayed, can't be salvaged. But some men, once they learn to respect themselves, can't be broken again. I'm sitting in my garage now, working on Mrs. Patterson's ancient Buick, and I'm content. Not happy, maybe, but content. I know who I am. I know what I'm worth, and I know that no one will ever make me feel small again. Sarah was right about one thing. She did earn more money than me. But money isn't everything. Self-respect is everything. Dignity is everything. And the knowledge that you stood up for yourself when it mattered most, that's worth more than all the six-figure salaries in the world. She said, I earn more, so I make the rules. Me, I smiled. You're right. And then I gave her exactly what she asked for.